back again, this time to talk about what I read in January. And I have to admit that my 2024 is not off to a very good start as far as my reading is concerned. I've only enjoyed about half of what I've read, and I haven't read as much as I would have liked to. However, one of my goals for 2024 is to get through the 15 or 20 books that I have started at one time or another and then set aside and never finished. So I am actually pleased that I have already finished 3 of those. The first of which is The Engines of God by Jack McDivitt, which is the first book in the Academy series. I don't plan to read the rest of the series, but I really did enjoy this first one. It is about a group of archaeologists who are studying ancient civilizations that arose on other planets and which are now extinct. And there's a lot of mystery surrounding these ancient civilizations and how they might know about each other. If I say too much more about it, I'll probably ruin the book. But I really did find that enjoyable, and I liked the depiction of the ancient cultures and some of the life that they found on the other planets. Another book I read is The Last by Hannah Jameson, which was a buddy read with my friend Nicole. This is a thriller, but it is also post-apocalyptic. So we are following a professor who is gone over to Europe for a conference when a worldwide catastrophe takes place. They don't know what has happened, only that before they lost internet and utilities, that there was indications of a war or an attack on a worldwide scale having started. So all of the guests at this hotel and some of the staff are kind of stuck here together, just trying to survive. And they discover a murdered child. And the professor has taken it upon himself to try to solve the murder of this child. So that is what we spend a lot of the book looking into, is investigating all the other guests. But in the process of doing that, you also learn about the guests and their personal stories. And you kind of watch the friendships develop and also the conflicts that would develop in this situation. So I did like this. It was better. It was one of the better thrillers I've read, but it wasn't spectacular, and I did actually enjoy the post-apocalyptic setting. Another book I read was The Undertoe Scenes from a Slow Civil War by Jeff Charlotte. So I thought this book was well done, but it was definitely not what I was expecting, and also it was very disturbing. This Jeff Charlotte travels all over the country talking to various groups of people, like some evangelists, some survivalists, some QAnon folk, conspiracy theorists, and various other kind of religious extremists and things like that. You know these things are taking place, but to actually read about what these people are saying and the kind of thoughts that they are having it's disturbing. I personally didn't like it, so well done book, but it definitely wasn't for me. Another book I read was 5 Little Pigs by Agatha Christie, and in this one, Hercule Poirot agrees to take on a case that has already been solved and is very old. He's visited by a grown woman whose mother was convicted of the murder of her father when she was a child. But she doesn't believe her mother was guilty of that crime and asks Hercule Poirot to look into it. And it was fabulous. I loved all the characters in this book, and I really loved the way it unfolded. I think it might be my favorite Agatha Christie so far. And then I read a few short stories. I read The Monkey's Paw by Diane Mowat, which is about a gentleman who receives 3 wishes, and I really liked that. I'd actually read that before, but I'd kind of forgotten about it, but it was really good. I also read The Long Game by Ann Leckie, which is a science fiction short story, which follows the leader of an alien species. And this species is much less developed than humans and are actually rather primitive, but very intelligent. And humans have sort of taken up residence on their planet and are harvesting resources from it. And they do have contact with the species and kind of suppress them a bit. And the leader wants to make a better life for her people. And we follow her in her efforts to accomplish this. And it was very, very good. I greatly enjoyed that. And then I read 2 short stories written by Seabury Quinn in a series of stories about a character named Jules de Grandin, who is a detective of the occult, of occult occurrences. The first one I read was called Sewage Chapel, which in volume 5, called Black Moon, which I absolutely loved. I did not think it was very well written, honestly, but the character of Jules de Grandin himself is fantastic. He's very flamboyant. He's very over the top. He's very comedic. He's very confident, even arrogant. And I absolutely just loved it. This first one was about a killer gorilla. And it's a little racier than what you would expect from a story written in this time period, and a little more sort of violently graphic than what you would expect as well. But I absolutely loved it. And then I read The Mansion of Unholy Magic in Volume 4, which is titled A Rival from the Grave, which I enjoyed even more. I thought this story was better. It's about mummies, and I really do enjoy mummy stories. So yeah, definitely looking forward to reading more Jules de Grandin stories in the future. And that is all. That is all I managed to read in January, which is much less than what I read in January of last year. But I am hoping that the rest of the year will go better for me. And so I'll call that the end of the video.